PVTV News. I'm Seth Martin.
And I am Tabitha Frank. Our first story today talks began in Paris, France this week as leaders from more than 150 countries gathered to discuss how to reduce the effects of climate change. The security concerns from the attacks that killed 130 people just over 2 weeks ago remained as the world's leaders set about finalizing an agreement to reduce carbon emissions globally. French President Francis Hollande opened the summit with a call for unity among nations as they seek ways to make the world safer from violent threats as well as environmental ones. Last year, President Barack Obama pledged the United States would reduce its carbon emissions by 26 to 28% over the next decade. The world's biggest greenhouse gas producer, China also committed to cutting emissions by 60% by 2030 in response to the U.S., Canada, Germany, Italy, and others committed $250 million to less affluent nations to help address climate concerns without burdening their economies. In order for progress to be made, nations must be held accountable to the commitments they make to reduce emissions, according to German Prime Minister Angela Merkel.
The first Firebird Festival lit up the sky 12 years ago, a celebration in homage to the rebirth of one Pennsylvania town named Phoenixville. A former steel hub, it rose in industry in mid-19th century when the factory eventually closed in 1986. The town, too, fell to disrepair. Slowly, Phoenixville has begun to rise again, and Henrik T., who created the Firebird Festival, was one of the citizens most responsible for its comeback. The festival kicks off with a parade of performers, musicians, and much more. All the events are meant to show off the city's artistic vibe. Artists planned the first Firebird Festival to foster a collaboration of local artistic and creative talent and to enhance the cultural life of Phoenixville. On a day of the event, we start on Friendship Field, where a magnificent 3-story bird is burnt and used as a giant kiln to fire peace birds dug out of the ash and sold as souvenirs. This year's festival is the most significant yet. In 2014, the event almost met an untimely death when the bird was set ablaze by arsonists, and instead of getting mad, Henrik kindly held an impromptu rebuilding of New Phoenix in just a few hours. The arsonists ignited the most inspiring day of the festival's history, and the new bird symbolized a community's love. The drumbeat of creative joy that the festival provides is ushering Phoenixville into a new era.
After playing 20 years in the NBA for the Los Angeles Lakers, Kobe Bean Bryant, at age 37, decided Father Time has finally caught up to him and announced that he would retire after the 2015-2016 season. Bryant was selected with the 13th overall pick in the 1996 NBA draft, straight out of high school, by the Charlotte Hornets, then traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. Bryant won the slam dunk contest as a rookie, and despite a feud between him and Shaquille O'Neal, they led the Lakers to 3 straight championships from 2000 to 2002. After the Lakers lost in the 2004 NBA Finals, Shaq was traded to the Miami Heat, and Bryant became the cornerstone of the Lakers. He led the NBA in scoring during the 2005-2006 and 2006-2007 season. In 2008, Bryant scored a career-high 81 points against the Toronto Raptors, second most points scored in NBA history, only beside Wilt Chamberlain, 100 points in 1962. He was awarded the regular season's MVP in 2008. After losing in the NBA final in 2008, Bryant led the Lakers to 2 straight championships in 2009 and 2010, earning the NBA Final MVP on both occasions. Bryant's legacy will not soon to be forgotten, and especially to all the Lakers fans.
A new discovery of how Alzheimer's disease destroys connections in the brain opens a door for new treatments and a possible cure or prevention of debilitating form of dementia. In the earliest stages of this disease, synapses, which connects the neurons or wiring in the brain, are destroyed. This happens before the disease can even be diagnosed accurately, while patients are experiencing only mild cognitive impairment. Eventually, the nerve cells die, breaking down brain function. No one was sure how Alzheimer's attacked the synapses until now. Researchers have identified two key proteins, one good, one bad, behind the breakdown. The good protein is called neural cell adhesion molecule 2, or NCAM2. It's part of a family of molecules that connect the membranes and synapses, allowing them to function properly. The bad protein, beta amyloid, was already known by scientists to be common in the plaques that build up on Alzheimer's patients' brains. But their research found that it also attacks NCAM2, breaking down the critical protein and causing synapses to fail in the first place. It opens up a new avenue for research on possible treatments that can prevent the destruction of NCAM2 in the brain. Dr. Vladimir S., lead researcher on the study, said. The researchers published their findings November 27th in the journal Nature Communications.
Over in the West Side Bazaar of Buffalo, New York, refugees are changing it for the better. It's a colony for immigrant-owned businesses, and it's the only place in town where you can eat Marian and Sommelian foods at the same table. It is also a market to buy clothing and gifts. There's been this talk about what happens when refugees decide to live in their new homes, like Buffalo West Side, for example. The presence of foreign-born residents of the city of Buffalo has increased by 95%, says Mayor Byron Brown, and that community feels that Buffalo is a welcoming place. Around 10,000 refugees have resettled in the Buffalo area since 2003, which the biggest groups coming from the Myanmar, Somalian, and Bhutan. That's a huge entry of people in medium-sized city, and it's brought some great challenges like giving the refugees medical and mental health needs. We're resettling these refugees in one of the poorest cities in the country, says Dr. Myron Glick, who is the co-founder of the Jericho Grove Community Health Center. The clinic specializes in treating refugees since it opened its doors in 1997. We're taking people who are already stressed, those of who are coming from refugee camps, and we're resettling them on the west side and east side of Buffalo, says Glick. It's amazing they're helping to bring Buffalo back.
Hundreds of rare and original collectibles associated with Star Wars are headed to auction. Sotheby's is holding the online auction for items associated with the Space Odyssey series. Estimates run from $100 to $35,000. It's the collection of Japanese designers Nigo, two Power of the Force coin sets that were only available on a special request from a manufacturer have a $25,000 to $35,000 estimate. A Luke Skywalker figurine with double telescoping lightsaber has a pre-sale estimate of $12,000 to $18,000.
Thousands of people who were without electricity for a week or more will get a chance to do over Thanksgiving. An electric utility in Washington state has mailed out more than $3,150 gift cards to people who were without power on the holiday. Vista Corp couldn't get the power restored for all of its customers for days after a major storm hit around Spokane. So company leaders decided to try to make it up for any missed feast. The cards are good for food and fixing from a local supermarket chain. The company took $4,061 from shareholders' profits to pay for the cards so the cost isn't being passed along to its customers. It just seemed the right thing to acknowledge the fact they would be missing the holiday. A Vista spokeswoman, Debbie Simak, told the Spokesman Review, "We just wanted to thank them for the patience and show our appreciation for those would be in that situation."
3-year-old Brielle from Salinas, California, appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres show to show off her smarts. In this video, Ellen holds up flashcards with elements, symbols, and Brielle doesn't just name them. She tells the television host about their individual properties. When DeGeneres asked her how she could remember everything about all 118 elements, Brielle, who also knows her state capitals and African countries, answered as only a toddler can. "My little brain just remembers," she said. At 3 years old, this little girl knows elements like xenon and scandium. "I thought those were reindeer," DeGeneres posted on her Facebook. At the end of the show, Ellen had give her a present, which was a purple desk to where she could study. And that is it for today, folks.
Thank you for watching. Have a great week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.